Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Well, Madam Lieutenant Governor, it's nice to be able to say this on International Women's Day. It's great to say thank you, Madam Lieutenant Governor, for that introduction. Speaker Rendon, Pro Tem Atkins, thank you, as always, for being here, and to members of the legislature, other state officials, thank you as well for joining us this evening, and of course to my remarkable wife, Jennifer, the first partner of the state of California. Thank you for not only being the heart of our family, but thank you for everything you do for the people of California. It goes without saying, given the state of our world, I don't imagine there are many people outside of these walls waiting on the words that will be said here tonight. But it's important, as the rabbi said, for us to come together nonetheless, not just to mark how far we've come in the fight against COVID, but also to reaffirm our commitment to democratic institutions. As the people of Ukraine continue to come under assault, 2 million, by the way, 2 million people already displaced from their homes, we take strength from their courageous courage as well as their willingness to fight for their freedom. So tonight is a moment. It's a moment to reflect, not just on what's happening overseas, but it's a moment to reflect on what it means to live in a society where elected leaders still settle our disagreements, by and large, with civility and compromise, and how we derive strength from a government that reflects the people we represent. Just think about it. Our speaker, son of working-class parents and grandson of Mexican immigrants, he worked his way through the California public education system, earning a PhD from UC Riverside, now committed to ensuring every child has access to early learning. Our pro tem, born in poverty in Virginia. She came to California and became a champion for housing and equal rights for all, the first openly gay woman to lead both the Assembly and the State Senate. Our Chief Justice, public school graduate, descendant of migrant farm workers, speaking out consistently against income inequality and tackling the cost of justice for people in poverty. And take our constitutional officers here tonight. Think about this. They include the daughter of an Arkansas sharecropper, an immigrant from the Philippines, the daughter of parents born in China and Greece, one raised by a teacher from Panama, and the proud son of undocumented Mexican immigrants. Thank you all for your remarkable service to our state. California does democracy like nowhere else in the world. No other place offers opportunity to so many from so many different backgrounds. But we can't take democracy for granted. Authoritarian and illiberal impulses aren't just rising overseas. They've been echoing here at home for some time. While we might not have a strongman quite literally waging war in our country, we are plagued by the agents of a national anger machine, fueling division, weaponizing grievance, powerful forces and loud voices stoking fear and seeking to divide us, weakening the institutions of our democracy, counting on complacency to erode voting rights, scapegoating vulnerable minorities, conjuring conspiracies, and promoting otherness, actively exploiting the anger of the anxious. Anger, by the way, that finds a home when people feel understandably disconnected from each other and our collective future, when that future doesn't look as bright as the past, making them more susceptible to the siren calls of those trying to tear us apart. Foundationally, this is a threat we must all face together and prove there's a better way, a California way forward. The California way. The California way means rejecting old binaries and finding new solutions to big problems. Take, for example, the speaker was talking about climate policy. California has no peers. For years, we've set the rules, and others have followed. But over time, we've learned we can't solve big problems like climate change situationally with short-term thinking. Look, no one's naive about the moment we're living in, with high gas prices and the geopolitical uncertainty that's fueling them. In January, we proposed a pause to the gas tax increase. Now, it's clear we have to go farther. And that's why, working with legislative leadership, I'll be submitting a proposal to put money back in the pockets of Californians to address rising gas prices. But I want to make this clear. At a time when we've been heating and burning up, one thing we cannot do is repeat the mistakes of the past by embracing polluters, drilling even more oil, which only leads to even more extreme weather, more extreme drought, and more wildfire. What more evidence? What more evidence do you need than our own state? Just think about this. In the past few years, we've seen whole communities nearly wiped off the map. Greenville, Paradise, Grizzly Flats. How many more are we willing to sacrifice? We need to be fighting polluters, not bolstering them. And in the process of doing so, freeing us once and for all from the grasp of petrodictators. But this conversation can't just be about supply, it can't just be about oil supply. Daily life still demands too much fossil fuel. That too has to change, underscoring the importance of accelerating California's leadership in clean technology. This is not just a national security and environmental justice imperative. Clean energy is this generation's greatest economic opportunity. A perfect example, by the way. A perfect example of that is our dominance in electric vehicle sales and manufacturing. It was, by the way, California policies that created this market. Now we have an opportunity to extend this leadership to secure critical component of the supply chain for batteries by tapping one of the world's largest lithium reserves right here in California, in Imperial Valley. And you consider this, our nation-leading climate investments, some $38 billion, will ensure that other innovations will surely follow, not by recreating the 20th century, by extracting more oil, but by extracting new ideas, drilling for new talent, by running our economy on a carbon-free engine. That's the California way. Now, when it comes to the economy, California's unmatched. We dominate. We dominate in research, innovation, entrepreneurialism, venture capital, and remain the world's 5th largest economy. Our GDP growth has consistently outpaced not only the rest of the nation, but most other large Western democracies. Think about this. In December alone, 25% of America's jobs were created right here in California, 1 million new jobs just in the last 12 months. More new business starts during the worst of the pandemic than Texas and Florida combined. But you know what makes us so different than those states, besides the freedom of a woman's right to choose? What makes us different is that as our businesses grow, we don't leave workers behind. Just consider what we did last year for middle class here in our state. We sent $12 billion back, the largest state tax rebate in American history. But we didn't stop there. We didn't stop there. We raised the minimum wage. We increased paid sick leave. We provided more paid family leave. We expanded childcare to help working parents. And this year, with your support, we will do something no other state in America has done: provide health for all, regardless of immigration status. That's the California way. And speaking of not leaving people behind, no state took bolder steps to protect public health and human life over the last 2 years. Our lockdowns, distressing as they were, saved lives. Our mask mandates saved lives. Your choices saved lives. California experienced far lower COVID death rates than any other large state. Fewer than Texas, Ohio, fewer than Florida, 35% fewer to be exact. But mindful, even with 3/4 of Californians being fully vaccinated, we're mindful that we cannot let our guard down. And that's why just last month we put out our Smarter Plan, the nation's first blueprint to stay ahead of future variants and seasonal surges. And I just want to thank you. I want to take a moment to thank all of you, to thank members of this legislature for all you did over the past 2 years to help keep us safe. But there's another crisis, all too familiar, referenced just a moment ago, and that's the crisis which we know has worsened over the last decade, not only here in California, but all across our nation. You know, it was just a few years ago, California lacked any comprehensive strategy, no accountability, and no meaningful state resources to solve the problem. But that's all changed. In just the past 3 years, we not only have a comprehensive plan, we're also requiring new accountability and providing unprecedented investments for cities and counties on the front lines. And while we've moved a record 58,000 people off the streets, 58,000 off the streets since the beginning of the pandemic, we all recognize we have more work to do, particularly to address what's happening on our sidewalks, reaching people who need the most help, those with schizophrenia spectrum and psychosis disorders, many self-medicating with drug or alcohol addictions. And that's precisely what our encampment resolution grants and our new care court seek to address. Getting people off the streets, out of tents and into housing and treatment is essential, clearly essential to making our streets safe for everyone. But public safety certainly isn't just about homelessness. Bobby Kennedy, just 6 weeks before he was killed by assassin's bullet, reminded us that the health of a society depends on the ability of people to walk their own streets in safety and not to be frightened into isolation. A nation, he said, which surrenders to crime, whether by indifference or heavy-handed repression, is a society which has resigned itself to failure. Our approach is to be neither indifferent to the realities of the present day, nor revert to the heavy-handed policies that have marked the failures of the past. We're funding local law enforcement and prosecutors to investigate and solve more crimes. We're bolstering the Attorney General's office, prosecuting organized theft rings, and getting illegal guns off our streets. But we're also investing hundreds of millions in new programs to tackle the root causes of crime, doubling down on proven violence prevention programs. That is the California way. Of course, to tackle any root cause, we need to talk about education. And I'm not talking about that version of education reform being promoted in some states, where they're banning, quite literally, you can't make this up, where they're banning books, where you can sue your history teacher for teaching history, and where you can't even say the word gay. I'm talking about real transformation of our public education system like we're doing right here in the state of California by creating choices, real choices for parents and unprecedented support for their kids, a whole new grade, transitional kindergarten for all. Nine hours of enrichment a day with true universal before and after school programs. Expanded summer school, universal nutritious meals, millions of new child savings account, and free community college. That's the California way. Look, I think all of us, at least here, can agree to this, that people have always looked to California for inspiration. And now in the midst of so much turmoil with the stacking of stresses and dramatic social and economic change, California is doing what we've done for generations, lighting out the territory ahead of the rest, expanding the horizon of what's possible. We know that government cannot be the entire solution. But we also know that government has always been part of the solution by creating a platform for people and the private sector to thrive. You know, as Freeman said, we have a formula for success, setting rules for risk-taking, not recklessness, infrastructure, research and development, investing in our conveyor belt for talent, the finest system of higher education anywhere in the world, our CSUs, UCs, and community colleges. And ensuring society provides a hand up when people need help, maintaining our pro-immigrant policies and welcoming refugees from around the world. Those are all California values, embracing diversity, but also seeking common ground, pursuing greater connectedness, not exploiting division with performative politics and memes of the moment, but by unifying towards common purpose, inviting more people with diverse perspectives from different backgrounds to strive, to seek, to find, to not yield, all into the fight for a better California. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you for the privilege of your time tonight.
All right, you've been listening to Governor Gavin Newsom deliver his fourth State of the State address. He touched on many points, opening up, of course, acknowledging International Women's Day, which we should take a moment to do that right now and acknowledge all our women out there, here and around our communities and around the world. He also acknowledged Ukraine and the 2 million people that have already been displaced. He talked about their resiliency and their fierce fight for democracy. One of the things that he talked about, Jeff, that really stood out to me, he mentioned, I know he was supposed to call for a pause in the gas tax for the summer, but he said, I want to go further than that, and I want to put money back into the pockets of Californians. He did not expound on that at all, but I'm wondering if that could mean possibly more stimulus checks. We do have a surplus of $45.7 billion, and almost $21 billion of that is up for grabs. So don't know what he was talking about exactly there, but that is what he said.
It didn't seem like he was going to lower the gas tax at all. He was going to submit that proposal to put in money into the pockets of those residents, as you mentioned. Regarding climate, he said no to additional drilling. He wanted to tap mineral reserves in the Imperial Valley. We assume that's for lithium batteries. He made mention of that. He also talked about the economy, homelessness, crime, and education. TK for all, 9 hours of instruction, expanded summer school, and free community college. That
a point that he has talked about time and time again, and he did say that we were going to have health care for all, including immigrants in California. That's something that he has not been able to do as of yet, but that is still on his to-do list. So those are the major points that the governor talked about in his State of the State address, and we will have more as our newscasts continue here on CBS 2.
Got your phone handy? Of course you do. Scan this right here. Download the CBS LA app. And just like that, you're connected to all the best local news and videos. Now, if only everything were this easy.